up on Tech News today, Verizon and Google have solved net neutrality for us. Wasn't that nice of them? Skype goes for a $100 million IPO. Who IPOs these days? Skype does. And we'll find out if Keyboard Clicky can make Sarah Lane stabby. Find out.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Monday, August 9th, 2010. Tech News Today is brought to you by Slingbox. Watch your favorite TV shows when you're away from home with Slingbox. Check out Slingbox at a Best Buy near you or at slingbox.com. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
And I'm Sarah Lane.
I didn't put the order in the spreadsheet. That's what happens. That's why I programmed the show wrong.
It's always been around this way.
Sarah Lane and Darren Kitchen, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Good to be here.
Also, back's Erik.
Hello.
I let
back.
you out of the editing room finally.
They did, yeah. It's daylight outside. I don't know how many days I was in there.
Watch out for the fiery Daystar.
Tough one.
It will give you a burn.
It burns like the fire
Better
in
than
Metroid.
a fiery manhole.
Yes, definitely. And what is also better than a fiery manhole is a good Google and Verizon joint announcement. Woohoo! Well, because pretty much everything is better than a fiery manhole.
Depends on who you ask.
Google.
Let's ask the FCC.
True. That's true. Google and Verizon made a public policy proposal announcement today at 1:30 p.m. Pacific, or 1:30 p.m. Eastern, 10:30 a.m. Pacific, saying that they have not made any business arrangement with each other, and all those reports that you've been hearing are wrong. They are asking for their policy framework to be enforced by the FCC with the power to issue fines. They want the FCC to be able to issue $2 million fines, which we can talk about whether that actually is any kind of fine at all for these kind of companies. And here's the framework. It would require wireline broadband. That's DSL and cable and all the stuff that's hooked up with a wire, right? To be strictly neutral. It would allow for additional, what they call differentiated online services in addition to internet access. And Verizon Fios is the one bandied about the most. Although they had some strange answer to a question. Somebody asked them, well, what's an example of another differentiated service? And they're like, well, you just want to twist our words. But let's say the opera wants to like broadcast in 3D. They don't want to do that over the open internet. So there you go. That was another one of their examples. But Fios, I think, is a better example because it's carried over IP. It's not carried over the same kind of wires that cable television is carried over, but it's not out on the open internet. And then they would leave wireless broadband largely unregulated. So
that's the part that's killing me here.
Yeah, so we can kick that around too. But the key point on the wireline side is that there would be no selling of priority traffic slots over the public internet. And I haven't had a chance to read the framework, but from all the analysis that I've read, there wouldn't even be the ability to say prioritize video traffic over email or anything like that. It's just no priority traffic, bits are bits. But you could sell dedicated capacity to customers over a dedicated network. And that's the kind of thing you hear about sometimes when they're like, well, we want to provide better service to hospitals, where they would have a dedicated network to a hospital that the hospital would use for their own purposes.
Or like a VPN or something.
Yeah, again, not out over the open internet.
Right.
So, good or bad, thumbs up, thumbs down? I mean, this is easy. This is easy stuff.
I'm
This
still
ain't
rocking it.
complicated,
I mean,
right?
it definitely sounds good. It's got that touchy-feel. If you read the what is it, Google Public Policy.blogspot post, it does definitely has that feel-good vibe to it, but there's just, I haven't read enough between the lines to really know how I feel, except for the part about the wireless that makes me very iffy. Kind of like,
what makes you iffy about it?
Well, come on, just because it's wireless doesn't mean it's any different than the internet. It's not. This isn't AOL or Prodigy. We're still talking about the internet. It just so happens to be over wireless.
Right.
So I don't think that should get any sort of different rules. Not like the FCC. I mean, then again, I still am even more interested in seeing how the FCC replies to this. Like, oh, FCC, here, why don't you, take care of these bad actors? And where are they going to, I don't know, it's just...
I think with the FCC calling off the talks last week, it sounds like the FCC got wind of this, said, yeah, we'll take it. We'll take that framework and run with it.
Mm-hmm. The only thing, I have to, we were making a joke earlier before the show where I said, gosh, can someone just summarize all of this? Because you read all of this and it's hard to wrap your head around some of it. And you did a pretty good job on your blog, so thanks for that, Tom.
Oh, yeah, sure.
But
Subreddit.com/blog.
because I was kind of having a hard time finding too much of an issue with the way that things seem to be rolling out, except that the Q&A session that Engadget was live blogging, I mean, it does make Google seem very defensive, and maybe that's just because of
Was because
what's
of the
been thrown
reporting
at
at the
them
end
so
of last
far.
week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's kind of hard to read between the lines sometimes.
I think the biggest issues are with the wireless because, again, no regulation there. However, I made this point on This Week in Tech yesterday. With wireless, you have more competitors. You have the ability for the free market to actually come into play. With wired, you don't. A lot of people only have one or two choices where they live, and so it's hard to say like, well, screw you with your bad practices. I'm going to go to somebody else's service when you don't have another choice. With wireless, you do have another choice. It's questionable whether there is enough choice. And Verizon was careful to couch this to say wireless is still too young to provide this kind of regulation, but that sort of leaves a little bit of a door open to say maybe there would be added regulation down the road. We just want to be able to go put out all of our LTE towers first before that happens.
I don't know how I feel about there actually being, real competition in the wireless space. You look at it, and while I'm happy that we actually have 4 competitors in at least the cellular arena, these are the same 4 competitors that up their text messaging rates at the same exact pace with each other. So,
well, that should be, and this is another concern that some of the public interest groups have noted. That would be a concern of the Federal Trade Commission, right? If there is to come in and say, like, wait a minute, price fixing here, you're all upping your text message rates at the same time. But this proposal would sort of kick the FTC out of the process, and that could be a bad thing for consumers down the line, wireless or wired. Well, it's going to take a little while to process more of this, but that's essentially the upshot of it. And we've got some links we'll throw in the show notes at twit.tv/TNT where you can kind of page through it yourself. There's I think my favorite analysis so far is from Wired. Elliot Van Buskirk says, here's the real Google Verizon story, a tale of two internets, and likens the Wired side of it to saying, you know what, we're gonna have a private internet, we're gonna have a public internet. And he goes through, whether that's going to be a good idea or not. Skype thinks it's a good idea to issue stock. Nobody does IPOs anymore. I'm glad to see Skype is up for this.
Me too.
Well, Facebook is delaying theirs, but Skype didn't. So
$100 million.
IPO days, they're back.
They're
It's
here
like 99.
again.
Let's party.
All right.
Company said Monday that it has filed an S-1 statement with the SEC, the Security Exchange Commission, and after the IPO, Skype will trade on the NASDAQ market. So we're looking at a way to raise some money to pay off a bunch of debts, because if you remember, Skype was sold by eBay, and as part of that deal, they had to pay Nicholas Zenstrom and Janice Fries a bunch of money for the intellectual property that they were threatening to sue eBay over.
Skype's done a lot well since they separated from eBay, actually.
Have they?
Yes.
Yeah, they're doing all right.
Yeah,
They recorded $343.8 million net legal expenses in the last year for the settlement.
What's weird about this, though, is that, and Skype, the company, is the first to say so, is that they make all their money from Skype Out, which is the service that allows me as a Skype user to call my mom on her landline because she's not another Skype user and I pay a small fee for that. Well, I mean, it's almost like the service is based on wanting a certain amount of people not to be using Skype, because if my mom's using Skype and I'm using Skype, then we talk for free.
Yeah.
So it's like, that seems like a somewhat strange way to set up a company. Of course, they're now talking about, yes, we're aware of this issue, and that if everyone signs up for Skype, which would be the reasonable expectation for a company if you want it to grow, we're looking into other areas of monetization, such as in-call advertising.
Yeah, but it doesn't hurt Skype if you and your mom chat on Skype, because it doesn't use any of their resources, essentially, since it's a node and supernode based peer-to-peer network. So,
But I'm also not paying for it.
Well, yeah, you're not paying for it,
they
but
don't get
everybody
that
else
profit.
is kind of like paying for it in donations of their bandwidth.
And it does have you telling people about Skype, and then they're more likely to go check it out and maybe download it, and maybe they'll buy Skype Out for some reason. So it's sort of that idea of spam, right? You don't get a whole lot of return on spam because most people just delete it. But if you get that really small sliver, it makes it worth it to send out spam.
Yeah.
With Skype, it's like, you know what, we'll give it away to almost everybody, but if we get enough, of a percentage of those people doing Skype Out, then we make, several $100 million.
And Skype as a free service is, just as disposable as any other. If a competitor comes around that's just as good, there's no reason to really stick with them. I mean, come on, it's a VoIP solution. I mean, the tree-hugging Linux hippie inside of me hates it because it's not SIP, it's not a open protocol. But then at the same time, the giddy tech enthusiast inside of me sees this IPO, and then I get cannonball's eyes.
We also learned a little bit more about how much was paid. $340-some million paid to Zenstrom and Fries to resolve the patent issue. Skype has also invested $6 million in Rdio, which is Fries and Zenstrom's latest service. $10 million in Atomico Ventures, a VC-funded operation by the pair. And Zenstrom and Fries also own a bit of Skype. They got some stock as part of this. So we hadn't known what the settlement was, but now because of the IPO filing, they had to make that all public. Let's go on to Verizon rumour-palooza.
Woo! Woo! What's the Verizon rumor roundup?
So we'll get to this in calendar, but we're supposed to get a Droid 2 sometime this week, and so we're getting pictures leaked out. Engadget reporting that Best Buy has a picture of the Motorola Droid 2 with a $199.99 tag next to it. That means $200 with 2-year activation, and there's also evidence that it would be $500 if you don't want to sign a contract.
$599.
No, $599.
Yeah.
Oh, see, I looked at the picture, and the picture said $499, but that's not.
600.
That's a different. Yeah, it's
headline,
$600 regular price without activation.
Yeah.
It's a steepster.
$600 unlocked though, but $200 that's standard. That's pretty normal.
Yeah.
Also, TechCrunch reported over the weekend that iPhone would be coming to Verizon because hey, it's been a while since somebody reported that iPhone was coming to Verizon. Their reason...
I'm shocked. Shocked.
Their reason this time...
Where are your sources?
...was that they had some sources who noticed a huge order of CDMA chips at a manufacturer, and they say they traced it back to Apple, and why else would Apple be buying CDMA chips? And knowing what the supply lines are like, it would be a January release, they say, for a Verizon iPhone.
I don't mean to, no spoilers. So, if you don't want this to be spoiled, skip ahead in the podcast. But Darren, the podcaster from the future, came to me over the weekend and let me know that Apple's phone is just a phone and that it's going to be on more carriers than just one.
But when?
It just will.
Couldn't he tell you more details?
That's all Darren, the podcaster from the future. These things come and go,
I still don't think I don't think we're going to see a Verizon iPhone until you've got LTE rolled out in more places. And we have a little hint into when that might happen. Boy Genius Report has the wireless 2010-2011 roadmap for Verizon, and one of the elements they found is that they're aiming to have 75% of the country covered in LTE by April 2012. Well, if you need 75% of the country covered for an iPhone on Verizon, then we're not even going to see an iPhone on Verizon in 2011.
Right.
So, I don't know. The other side of this is AT&T is saying in their earnings report a lot of stuff about, when these exclusivities that we have end, it's not a big deal. We're going to be fine. We've got lots of handsets. We're diversified. Please, stockholders, don't freak out. And the stockholders are like...
protesting too much.
Why are you telling us this? What exclusivity in particular are you talking about?
No one actually mentioned exclusivity until you did. So
we believe offering a wide variety of handsets reduces dependence on any single handset. And we know what single handset they're talking about. So, I don't know. You triangulate some of these rumors, and it does seem like we might be getting a little closer. Other Verizon rumors in the roadmap the Boy Genius Report uncovered is a 7-inch screen Android tablet with Android 3.0. And probably the one that I got most excited about was the Motorola Droid Pro, which would have a 1.3 gigahertz CPU, 4-inch screen, and global roaming capabilities, estimated for a launch of November 2010.
Which means Droid 2? Wait, is that... Do you still care? No, I don't think so.
Especially this thing is coming out
it's got a keyboard.
A couple of months.
It's got a keyboard.
Oh, the other one that got me excited was an LTE MiFi device from Novatel coming in January or February that would support 10 simultaneous Wi-Fi users.
And kittens.
And, well, if they have Wi-Fi, yes.
Nice.
Up to 10 kittens. Wi-Fi enabled kittens. So there you go. There's your Verizon
making stuff up.
rumour-palooza report for today. Let's thank our sponsor, Slingbox, for helping to bring you that and all the other stories that we've given you today. Slingbox lets you take your TV anywhere. If you haven't heard about it before, you haven't listened to many of these podcasts. You can go on any portable device, your iPhone, iPod Touch, well, almost any device. iPhone, iPod Touch, BlackBerry, laptop, MacBook, Android, mobile phone. You get their app. You go to Best Buy. You buy a Slingbox. You bring it home. You hook up your Slingbox to your TV and your internet connection, and then you put it out there on the internet, and once you've got it all installed, you can watch whatever TV you get at home wherever you are. So it's great for traveling. It's great if you're, on a boring date and you're missing your favorite show. You can just kind of string the earphone up one side, and
When
nod.
I'm usually at Valentine's Day dinners with you and Eileen,
I noticed that you kind of tend to gaze off.
I think Slingbox
after a while.
it starts to really help me.
Slingbox
keep
is
engaged.
It's great if you're on a business trip, and let's say you want to watch your favorite sports team, but they're blacked out. You don't get the game in the hotel room. You can watch it off of your home TV. Any channel you get at home, you can watch anywhere you have an internet connection. So why not try an in-store demo at a Best Buy near you, or visit slingbox.com to find out where you can find that demo. On to Jambool, because, well, why wouldn't you call the company Jambool?
Because all the other company names are taken, even fake ones.
Yeah, I mean, talk about IPv4 being short. We're running short of names soon. I'm telling you, this is going to be a problem.
We'll just go to an IP6 kind of name base.
Yeah. Bigger name
Have you
base.
seen EEF 5204D6A's new phone? Oh my gosh, so amazing.
I'll have to go to non-Roman characters.
Yeah. Anyway, what is Jambool? Jambool is a service that provides social gold. It's a virtual currency. Virtual currencies are really hot these days because people are using them in games, especially, and across various games. Like Zynga has their own virtual currency. Jambool is going to be bought by Google, according to TechCrunch, for $55 million plus. Another $15 to $20 million in an earnout, and so it continues the Google march of buying things.
You know what else Google bought?
Slide?
No.
Oh,
a
what
micro
else?
drone.
Oh, this is scary.
This is awesome.
A blogoscope site that was reported on Slashdot says Google has purchased a German micro drone for evaluation. Devices can take off, fly a mission, and land automatically using GPS, and they carry night vision cameras or even see-through walls far infrared cameras.
What's wrong with that?
Nothing.
Google Street View.
You shouldn't
Google
expect privacy in a room
Blueprint
with no
view.
windows and no doors.
Absolutely. What
Google
if you
will be able to see the
You
Masons.
want privacy, you go live in a storage unit.
Yeah.
Until then,
An
What do you
infrared,
expect?
impenetrable storage unit.
the world's information needs to be organized, and sometimes that information includes the layout of a building on the inside.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, we've all seen the spy movies.
Sometimes it includes you in, dressing in the
But
morning.
obviously, they're not going to do any kind of Big Brother stuff because the German company here that sold it to them let them know that das ist sehr verboten. Yeah.
Right, you cannot, you cannot use these drones to look at anything that's forbidden.
Yes.
That's
you're
part of
not
the terms
supposed
of
to.
service. So Google would be breaking the terms of service if they spy on you.
but
Heaven forbid.
physically, it's possible.
Yeah.
They're just going to say, we won't.
Also, where can I get one of these?
Google employees are also mounting, with some help from NASA, the Nexus 1 PhoneSat project to launch low-cost mobile phone components that can withstand space travel.
Oh, well,
So-
we're all going to need that soon.
Really, Google they want to launch things.
They're thinking ahead for you.
They want to launch things into the sky. All right. This almost seems like an old story, partly because I talked about it on This Week in Tech, but it broke kind of earlier in the weekend. Mark Papermaster was the executive in charge of hardware for Apple's iPhone, has left the company. And when they first announced he was leaving, everyone screamed and said, aha, it's AntennaGate. He's taken the fall. He was responsible for the antenna. But then people started to look at it, and they realized that, well, he was missing from the AntennaGate press conference. He was missing, actually, before AntennaGate even became AntennaGate, from any kind of videos about the iPhone, including demonstrating the antenna. So most people have come to the conclusion that he just didn't fit in at Apple, and they fought really hard to get him.
Are you sure he was missing, or he was just lost and he couldn't get signal to get his Google Maps to load up?
He never returned his calls.
I'm going to
so
be
they
late.
had to fire him.
My message won't go
I texted
through.
you that I was late. Were you holding it in your left hand, Mark? Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't fit in here.
Mark, remember, you're the one who originally told us that there was a problem. We'd like you to leave.
Wall Street Journal says that there were broader cultural incompatibilities between Papermaster and Jobs. Wall Street reports Mr. Papermaster had lost the confidence of Mr. Jobs months ago and hasn't been part of the decision-making process for some time. So it seems like they fought really hard to get him away from IBM. There was a lawsuit involved. And then once they got him, they were like, okay, you better be worth it, dude. And apparently he didn't live up to that expectation. And they talk about the micromanaging at Apple in this Wall Street Journal article, and that Papermaster just didn't micromanage enough.
I'm trying to find a good Jobs Papermaster type joke. It's not coming to me, but I think there's one in there somewhere.
About the name?
Yeah, it's just a great last name. Papermaster?
He should have been in charge of ebooks.
Papermaster fails to increase jobs. That doesn't quite work.
I guess Apple is a paperless office.
Hey!
The Papermasterless office now, that's for sure.
Too bad his name was an iPhone Master. He might still have a job.
Yeah, or Antenna
Now just
Master.
a paper mistress.
Or Apple Master. He couldn't master their culture.
Ooh, there you go.
That's
Papermaster.
it. All right. Let's move on to RIM, who over the weekend did come to an agreement with Saudi Arabia. So they are going to, it sounds like, from all reports, locate some servers in Saudi Arabia. This will probably point the way to the other countries that have leaped up. We talked about the fact that United Arab Emirates has a problem with BlackBerry and wants to surveil. We talked about Lebanon saying something about that. We've talked about Kuwait now has jumped in on that. India has been saying it for years, according to Nilay Patel on yesterday's TWiT. And also now Germany has
Not
issues.
one of the countries I would expect to be part of that group of country names.
A spokesman for the Interior Ministry of Germany told reporters in Berlin that it is recommending German government departments avoid using not only the BlackBerry, but also the iPhone. His ministry cited an increase in cyber attacks on the government's network, and Bloomberg News reports that German government ministries have begun using the Simco 2, a phone developed by a unit of Deutsche Telekom.
That makes sense. I was going to say, what do they say is wrong? Not Deutschcom.
You know what's wrong? RIM is Canadian and the iPhone's American.
Yeah.
Let's use this phone Simco 2.
I German.
Flash forward joke in there if anybody gets it.
I don't.
You go ahead and make it yourself because none of these people watch Flash forward. So.
Sorry.
Anyway, BlackBerry RIM. You were saying this in the prep meeting. RIM seems to be following a nice pattern that we've seen before.
All of this has happened again, and all of it will happen. All of this has happened before.
All of it will happen again.
Sorry, I'm head in the clouds at the moment, but suffice it to say, this looks very similar to Palm. This might be their folio with the
the black pad. The black pad might be their folio.
And
they have a problem here that Palm never had, which is everyone wanting to surveil their data because they actually run the data through their own servers.
I don't see what the big deal is because the BlackBerry is the easiest to hack phone. It's the easiest to push fun little Java code to SIM cards and make stuff happen. And that's where I will have to leave that. But it's... Anyway. I'm just surprised that there's so much in the news lately about all these countries and BlackBerry when really when it comes down to it, BlackBerries are the ones where, oh, you want the microphone on?
Do you think that RIM would abandon the BlackBerry model where they just say, you know what, fine, we're just going to make phones that access the internet the way everyone else does because it's too much trouble to run the BlackBerry servers?
Don't want to spoil anything, but I
but future Darren says
no. This is crazy wackadoo, Darren, the one sitting right in front of you right now that thinks that there might be an Android future for because let's just face it, RIM makes some amazing hardware, but this 6.0 stuff is just not doing it for me.
So you think that they saved themselves by switching to Android?
No, they follow Palm completely, just like with the Trio 700W running Windows.
HP ain't going to buy them, though.
Yeah, well, there's...
And BlackBerry has a much wider hardware portfolio than Palm did, at least at the end. So they've got a ways to go before they burn all that out.
Oh, I agree. I mean, they're not like, let's not start the death watch, just yet, but... Yeah, that's my gut right there.
All right. You can also now put Flash on your iPhone easily. Frash is the name of an app that is now available in the Cydia store. If you've jailbroken your iPhone or your iPad, you just go to Cydia. You have to add a source repo.benm.at, and then you search for Frash, F-R-A-S-H, and you can add Flash. Well, you can add Frash, which allows you to play Flash on your iPhone.
Is there a significance to the name Frash, or is it another one of those? Let's just call it something.
Well, if you're familiar with checking the emails, then
Strong Bad, Homestar Runner.
There you go.
No,
not really.
If you can type with boxing gloves on, yeah. Little place in my heart for you.
Okay.
You can install Frash on your Lappy, too.
Scroll button on the laptop.
Finally, Boing Boing, through their new Boing Boing submitterator, which I want to steal because this would be a way for me not to ever have to look at the news again. They created this amazing thing where they allow all of their readers to submit stuff, and then they can grab it and put it on the blog. They don't have to write blog posts anymore. They just make the whole audience do it. Anyway, a BB submitterator reader, Obey Ken, said, I know that man about internet, John Hodgman, has come out strongly against the whole meh thing, but I couldn't help whipping this up, and he's made a Facebook meh button.
I love that.
Honestly, I want to, if this was on Facebook, I would click like next to the meh button and break the internet. But yes, I like the meh.
I like the meh.
So, you know, when you see the Facebook like, don't like, you don't have to click like or just not click anything. You could click meh and be like, you know what, I want to express my ambivalence.
Right. This just isn't interesting to me.
Although this
Some
is where I
sites
start to
already
agree
do
with
that.
Hodgman.
BuzzFeed does that pretty well.
They do a meh button?
Well, they don't have a meh button, but they have, like, I think this is lol or heart for liking or broken heart for not liking things. So there are other ways to express ourselves but besides thumbs up.
Yeah.
Meh.
Although once you start to take a position, then aren't you violating the spirit of meh by actually
Saying that
having
it's meh?
to say it's meh?
Not on the internet. I think people can be very, very in control of their meh feelings.
I also hate it when people mispronounce it. It's got an H at the end.
Meh.
Yeah, exactly. It's not that hard to say.
What else do people say?
Me? Say meh.
Although this would break Facebook's...
I would refuse to be friends with those people. Meh.
This would kind of break Facebook just being a positive reinforcement place. There's no thumbs down on Facebook, you know?
Yeah, it's a fairyland of nothing negative.
Well...
It's about time they got something.
Then jerks like me will comment, unlike.
Unsubscribed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, it is time for us to move on to the News Fuse.
Oh.
We're waiting for something to happen. Oh, do you not have the link for the News Fuse?
That was Jammer B on Friday.
Oh, that's right. We forgot to tell Erik.
We sandbagged you.
Okay, so right next to News Fuse in the lineup, there's a link. And so just load that up and get ready to play, and then we'll do this all again.
Okay.
All right.
I am so confused.
Boy, I wish there was something else happening on the show. I guess we're done.
So anyway, that's all meh for me.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. Just tell me when
I miss a few days and the whole show changes. Okay, what is this going to be?
This is Tom's last day, by the way.
Yeah, full screen it.
It's better with video. It's a lot better.
This is so awkward.
See?
Yay!
Hey, we got rid of the beep.
Yeah, Eli actually redid it.
Oh, that's nice.
I couldn't figure out where the beep came from.
Eli, you're the best.
All right. The BlackBerry Curve 3G, which will get an upgrade to the new BlackBerry 6 OS, is coming out in the next few weeks, according to T-Mobile. The Curve sports a 624 megahertz processor, GPS, Wi-Fi, 802.11n, and 3G HSDPA internet connectivity, although it keeps the relatively low-res 2.4-inch 320 by 240 screen and a 2-megapixel camera.
The Xperia X10 Android smartphone will be available on AT&T starting August 15th for $149.99 with a 2-year contract. It has a 4-inch WXVGA capacitive touchscreen and a 1 gigahertz processor, an 8.1 megapixel camera with an LED flash, a gig of onboard memory, plus a 2 gigabyte SD card included in the box, and Android 1.6.
Boo.
But enough of all that specs talk, on to hooking news.
Yay.
Craigslist has responded to an open letter claiming the site helps promote prostitution. Craigslist responded by asking if the crimes had been reported to the police, adding it was combating trafficking. Craigslist stated that they want to learn more about any misuse so they can improve their preventative measures.
And finally, the woman at the center of the sexual harassment probe that led to the resignation of Hewlett-Packard CEO Mark Hurd has come out to say she was taken aback by his departure. Jodie Fisher, a former salesperson and actress, claims there was never an affair or sexual relationship with Hurd, and she has resolved her claim against him. Fisher may be best known to this audience as the voice of a telepath in the game Star Trek Starfleet Academy.
Was she paid any money?
For Star Trek Starfleet Academy, I would assume so, yes. Apparently...
Regular SAG fees.
Yeah, apparently she didn't take any money from Hurd, and she's shocked and taken aback and saddened and all those things you are.
He still resigned,
Yeah.
so take from that what you will.
It's probably an RSS feed. You can subscribe for the rest of that story.
Should we move on to the calendar, gentlemen?
Yeah, let's do.
All right, coming up this week, record-breaking patch Tuesday. That's tomorrow. Dun, 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 dun. BlackBerry Torch will be available this Thursday, August 12th. It's also the rumored day of the launch of the Droid 2 phone. And QuakeCon 2010 begins in Dallas also on Thursday. So if you're into that, get down to the Lone Star State and have yourself a ball.
Who doesn't love a good QuakeCon? Voicemails, you can be part of them. 260-TNT show. I asked for some last Friday, and I got this one.
I'm just calling you, Tom, because you said you wanted someone to call. Tom, I'm here for you, man. It's okay.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that.
How much better do you feel?
A
lot.
little better.
Just
I mean,
a little?
really what I wanted was like 20 to 30 seconds.
Something relevant.
Responding to a topic on the show, maybe some insightful comments that would be of interest to the rest of the audience, an ad, something to the discussion. But I didn't make that clear. So it's on, that's on me.
Kumbaya.
Yeah.
A Google Voice kumbaya.
You know who needed to make that clear? You know who's got 2 thumbs and needed to make that clear? This guy.
Should I let them know? The anonymous coward, should I let him know how you do that? What you want to do is leave something very similar to what you would find, say, if this were a /story. You just want to scour for those +5 insightfuls or +5 funnies. Submit us those.
Great. Now that's all everybody's going
Paragraph
to do.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying verbatim. I'm just saying. Treat the show as if it were a thread.
Use that as inspiration.
Yes.
On to the emails to TNT@twit.tv. David in New Brunswick, Canada says, hey, TNT crew, just a comment about the browser privacy. When running in private browsing mode, Google Chrome actually disables or doesn't load any of the extensions when you are in that mode, so they cannot track what you are doing. He and about, 25 other people either called or emailed with the same thing, so I went to check because the stories all said that the researchers claimed that extensions and plugins were a problem in all 4 major browsers. I looked into their PDF, and I found that in particular with Chrome, what they found is that Chrome's incognito mode disables most extension functionality, but plugins, including plugins bundled with extensions, are enabled. So yes, you're right, all you people, about the extensions being disabled, but there are plugins that aren't.
Are there plugins that are obvious, such as the Flash? Well,
yeah, Flash.
Besides the Flash plugin, that are a good example in this case that people should be thinking about?
Yeah,
I can't really think of anything besides the Flash when I think of a plugin.
There's lots of plugins for...
Well, your comment cursor, obviously.
Obviously.
Or your bonsai buddy. Where would you be without that?
Right.
Not here.
Those are horrible examples.
That's for sure.
But true. There's lots of little JavaScripty plugins here and there that sites will. I actually don't like to go to sites that do that make like you have to install this plugin. Flash is about the only one I enjoy. In fact, I run NoScript specifically to prevent them from.
What about Silverlight?
Silverlight is a plugin. Yeah, that's a good one. There's another good example.
Really bugs the.
That would be a legitimate one. Speaking of legitimate stuff here, we've got an email from Isaac who writes in and says, Dear Tech News Today, I just listened to your show from August 6, 2010, and I thought I'd understand in your amusement at the employee jailbreaking the iPhone. Perhaps it's time to call a spade a spade. A jailbreak is a rootkit, and anyone installing a rootkit onto a device to be sold to someone else is a very bad idea, TM. Also, a pleasure to hear the latest news bites on your audio podcast. Hope the show does well. Thank you, Isaac. And while I take issue with calling it a rootkit, as that might imply that it has a nefarious purpose, and that we can all kind of hopefully agree that the dev team doesn't have any sort of nefarious purpose like that, it is true that when you root your phone, just like I do on my Android one, and I have to consider the Cyanogen mods or the Bugless Beast or whatever it is you run as your alternative to the factory operating system, there's nothing to say that somebody can't bake something in that you would not otherwise know is there.
Isaac was not alone in taking us to task for perhaps encouraging people to jailbreak.
We may have come across a little flippant
phones
on Fridays.
First of all, Isaac, I mean, these phones are the demo phones. They're not going to be sold to people. I don't know what happens to them, but they generally do not sell you. In fact, I've asked, like, hey, can I get that phone for like a discount? And they're like,
the
no.
Floor sample?
Like we don't have floor samples at the Apple Store. So
yeah, that's where they put the 2 gigahertz process. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, right.
I'm joking.
So it's not as bad as all that. But you're right. It could be considered vandalism. So don't do vandalism.
Yeah. I think we may have said something like "good for him" on the show on Friday, and
yeah, we take that back. I take that back.
That was not intentional to be taken so literally. Okay, last email from Ron Harwood. Perth, Western Australia. Hello, Ron. He says, hey, TNT crew. I went to an electronic retailer and looked at the keyboards. My friend Sam said after so many years of keyboard manufacturing, they still haven't managed to remove that clicky sound of the keys from all keyboards. I like the clicky sound. He doesn't. What are your thoughts? I would have posted the question on Facebook Answers, but I would much rather ask some IT professionals like yourself than the entire world. Love the show. Keep up. What is that sound?
Oh, I just
what is that noise?
Just using my IBM PS2 keyboard to do a little twittering. Sorry.
Is that an 83
Was that bothering you?
Yes.
I'm sorry. I'll put it away.
I tend to... What? How? Where?
Well, it's just,
It's
not
connected to
even
his Unix.
attached to
Don't you
anything.
carry an IBM
Connected to
PS2
his
keyboard?
Unix terminal.
Yeah. It's for the
That
Unix terminal we
cord's
keep
just
under
hanging.
the desk here.
I don't think that's Twitter
It is
compatible.
now.
You can't tweet
thanks,
from that
Sarah.
thing. It's too clicky. Okay, so I guess we all have to take a stance here. Are we pro-clicky or anti-clicky? I am anti-clicky. The sound makes me stabby.
I love the clicky.
Love the
In
clicky.
fact,
Why?
In fact, it is good that even since we share a working space, that this is a PS2 cable and not a USB cable.
Oh, no,
I would
I've got
have.
the adapter for it.
I would
Bring
have
it
this
next week.
No, I know I can mod it. I'm just
No,
lazy
I'm
enough.
bringing
You
you the
use that
adapter
as an
next week.
external keyboard with your MacBook?
Oh yeah, I
Do it.
I
What is
used
wrong
this
with
as my
you?
external keyboard for years and years until finally I had to use a USB and I was like, oh, I need to get an adapter, and I never got around to it. I love it because it feels like you're typing.
No,
People know you're working when they
That's
hear
right.
it's clicky like little ladies with high heels clicking all over the place.
Is that what you see
It's
in
like
your mind?
little Barbie shoes. Yeah.
That would freak me out if that's what I saw when I heard this.
Three words, Tom.
That's what I see.
I hear people
in my
working.
nightmares.
I
know
hear
when you-
productivity.
You know when you string together like 3 commands that are like piping standard in and out to each other with that keyboard, and you just slam enter with so much decisiveness, you know it's going to run so much faster too.
Whatever.
That's the that's a sound of executable. Right there.
Schmod plus 777. There we go.
Wow.
3 words,
better
Tom.
already.
PS2 to Bluetooth.
Yeah. Oh.
Jailbreakme.com.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Sarah's getting stabby. We better stop.
We're going
It's
to
just
mod
the
it with an
clicky.
iPod dock.
Anti-clicky right here. Proud of it.
All right. Thanks, everybody. You can express your views on clicking us or anything else by emailing us, tnt@twit.tv. Thanks to Sarah and Darren for being on the show with me, and thanks to you guys for watching. Find us on the web, twit.tv/TNT, or give us a call, 260-TNT-SHOW.
DEF CON coverage at hak5.org.